motorcycle influencers are kind of ruining it for everybody, I think. And I say this as an influencer, which truthfully that word is a little highfalutin for what we do, right? Like Martin Luther King was an influencer, Mother Teresa was an influencer, John F. Kennedy was an influencer, the guy with 10,000 subscribers who's hawking Chinese stuff on his affiliate links. Influencing is perhaps a tall order for what that is. But here's the thing, people are posting content about motorcycles online, right? And we'd like to think that the cream rises to the top, but really what's happening is the lowest common denominator is rising to the top. And what I mean by that is that, for better or for worse, people are highly attuned little monkey brains, right? And I say that with the full understanding that I am myself one of those people, because anytime I see a motorcycle speeding or crashing or doing something, my eyes perk up and my heart rate goes up, and it is exciting to watch. It is undoubtedly exciting to watch someone doing something really crazy on a bike. And it's insane that we have, people posting about it willingly online, right? Like we have any number of motorcycle crashes and speeding online. And when people who aren't as into motorcycling as we as enthusiasts are see this kind of content, I think the vast majority of the time that normal people are presented with motorcycling content or media, it's people speeding, it's people doing crazy stuff, it's people crashing, it's people getting into life-altering injuries on their bikes. I think I'll talk about the most infamous example was Jigsaw, right? A guy that I know personally and I have a reasonably good relationship with, I'd like to think. And, he's been going to the track more lately, which I think is awesome. But, for better or for worse, Jigsaw posted himself riding really irresponsibly in Colorado, and he got a lot of mainstream media publication about it, right? So, man, it was crazy. I had people in my personal life and circle who don't know anything about motorcycling. They would send me the link to Jigsaw's infamous Colorado situation, and they would say, "Oh my God, have you heard of this?" And I would say, "Man, not only have I heard about it, but that guy blew up my Turbo Hayabusa. That's how much I know about it." So that's what I'm saying when influencing is giving us a bit of a bad rap, right? And that's why we gotta try to put out content that promotes good, safe, responsible motorcycling, wearing all of our gear, trying our best to do as much as possible. Oh, you thought about it. Little Mercedes thought about it. I had his number. We gotta try our best to promote safety, but the problem is promoting safety is boring, right? Nobody wants to see content of a guy just riding around like this, right? Just being safe, because it's not very interesting unless you're doing the motorcycle riding yourself. Like, as I'm riding this bike, I'm having a nice time, I'm enjoying myself, but this, if I wasn't talking about a controversial topic, would be just pretty boring for people, right? So that's an issue. I think the other issue is particularly in the female space in motorcycling. I see this a lot on Instagram and TikTok specifically because it's much more of a visual short form medium. I've seen female content creators in the motorcycling space go from, wearing all of their gear, doing the right things, blah, blah, blah. They'll then maybe test a piece of content that has them perhaps wearing less gear, showing off their body a little bit more, right? And then they see that, of course, because the male brain is programmed to do this, right? They go and they simp. They hit like and they share and they love it, and then, rightfully so, the female motorcycle content contributor is now like, well, wait a minute, if I show my body off more, looks like people like that more, that I get more engagement on this post and I can grow my following more. And I've seen this trend where the vast majority of female motorcycle content creators on Instagram and TikTok, I wouldn't say the vast majority, perhaps a solid, 60%, which is a majority, right? They trend towards the kind of, low bar, kind of like, here's my butt on a bike, and here's, me wearing as little gear as possible. And that doesn't present a particularly good image for motorcycling, right? It's not particularly good for motorcycling to see people in scantily clad outfits riding and being irresponsible, right? But the other thing I see a lot that I think influencers are doing a poor job of is just sort of bad information, right? We try our best here at Yami Noob to research everything, and you're getting an expert level opinion on something. Ooh, Desert X, very nice. You're getting an expert level opinion on something, right? I've been riding motorcycles for 10 years. Okay, we're rounding up 9. And I've ridden over, like, I think 180 different bikes. I did a whole video about, like, everything I learned in the last 10 years of riding. So it's expert level opinion. I think what's troublesome is whenever you have someone who's been riding for 6 months creating content as if they're an authority on something. And because we're all operating on the same playing field here on YouTube, there is no distinction that you can tell on who is credentialed and who is not credentialed, right? That was a good thing back in the day when media was democratized by social media, but we've actually seen that, you know, gatekeeping and credentials are actually kind of important, right? Like, it's not really a good idea to have somebody who's been riding for 6 months talking about why a 600 is a great idea for beginner riders, because that's going to, you know, feed into this, you know, ignorant kind of motorcycle riding that I want to see less of. I want to see people riding safely, responsibly, and taking information and opinion from credentialed experts, right? Motorcycle safety instructors, people who really know what they're doing, right? And one of the biggest skills you can have as a consumer of media in today's world is filtering out the noise, right? Filtering out bad information, being able to, through the huge identification of information, be able to, you know, find your way in this world and cull out the bad information, right? You don't want to have a situation where you're just taking in random information as fact and being like, oh, that's great. You know, Squidinator69 on YouTube said that I can start on a 600, so I'm going to go ahead and do that because that guy said it was a good idea. That's an example of bad influencing, right? And, you know, I am concerned for motorcycling writ large. I am concerned that, you know, because here's what happens, right? I'm concerned because the more bad information gets pressed, the more bad image we get put upon us. People speeding, people crashing, people riding recklessly, Harley people doing stupid stuff, right? Whatever it is. It's going to make it harder for us to make the case for ourselves, to represent ourselves, and to put ourselves in a good light in front of government authorities, in front of police officers, in front of all this stuff, right? And for as many motorcycle charity drives as I see, and for as many, you know, situations where I see, you know, people doing good on motorcycling, the vast majority of views and attention is going towards the bad stuff, right? And that's a problem. Because, you know, recently here in Texas, they outlawed lane filtering for motorcycling, which I think is a really stupid thing. I've talked about this quite a bit on the channel, and I just think it's such a bad idea, and I'm still doing it. I'm just waiting for the day I get pulled over for doing it, and I'm going to take the L and take the ticket, but I'm going to tell the guy, like, this is safer for me, and it's best practice in most developed countries that actually respect motorcycling. But you know, motorcycles are seen as a toy here in the United States, not as a legitimate form of transportation. And unless you're driving a soccer mom SUV, it seems like nobody wants to give you respect on the road. And if people are, you know, interacting with motorcycles in this negative way, you know, we're going to have a bad situation where, you know, you're going to get disrespected on the road and people are going to take crazier actions against you and that sort of thing, right? And you really don't want that. And again, it's the effect of, you know, every motorcycle rider that's out there has a responsibility to try to ride as responsibly and safely as possible, not just for ourselves because we want to keep ourselves safe, but for the image that we're putting out for other motorcycle riders, man. Like, it's so important that when you're out there, don't ride like a total dummy, right? Like, I am not going to sit here and tell you to never do a wheelie or to never lane split or to never ride in a way that's more fun, right? And to always observe the speed limit, right? I mean, right now I'm speeding technically, right? And I'm not going to tell you to do that because that's not what motorcycling is about, in my opinion. But I'm also not going to tell you to go out there and imitate your favorite content creators, because that's one of the biggest problems I've seen in the last even 2 to 3 years. You know, I'll take it back to Jigshabra. We talked about him earlier. I've seen a phenomenon that I'm kind of coining the Jigshabra copycat effect, man. I've seen, for whatever reason, YouTube has been recommending sort of lower volume, lower view count, subscriber count channels to me. And I have seen no less than 5 or 6 different accounts of people basically trying to do exactly what Jigshabra used to do, which is just like, you know, blast down the freeway, lane splitting at 170 miles per hour, all that crazy stuff he used to do. And we don't really need people copying that behavior, right? And it's unfortunate because the vast majority of the people who think that this is really cool, right? You know, you click on their profiles on Instagram, for example, and it's high school kids, man. It's kids that in the bio, in the description or whatever, it says like HS whatever class of 25 or 26. Which, but as a side note, is that allowed to be a year that people are graduating high school? My God, I'm getting old. You know, it's a pretty crazy thing that. You know, these high school kids are seeing this and they think it's cool. And then, you know, if you think something's cool, you're going to try to do it yourself. And it's not particularly hard for an 18-year-old kid to go and get a, you know, $2,000 piss missile on Craigslist and go out and do 150 miles per hour on the highway, because we have no restrictions on who can do that in the United States. And it worries me when I see these copycat you know, super speeders in particular, because I know that they don't have the skills to pay the bills. Jigsaw is, for better or for worse, a pretty darn experienced motorcyclist, right? You've seen him do all kinds of stuff, you know, doing wheelies and, you know, higher level riding. I don't like the way he rides on the public road, and I would never condone it myself, but you have to admit the man does have some skill, because he's stayed alive up until this point, right? But if you're a younger rider and it's your first year of riding and you go out and try to ride like your favorite content creator Jigsaw, it's going to be a bad time, man. You're going to have a really, really bad time. Well, there's a skate park here. That's kind of cool. You're going to have a real bad time if you do that, right? And I don't want people to get into motorcycling for that reason. I don't want to see people be like, yeah, I want to go buy a 1,000cc bike as my first bike and go and destroy myself on the highway. Because a lot of these young kids, man, they're kind of suicidal, you know, and I remember being a teenager, you know, sometimes you get in your own feelings about things, and you're like, nothing matters, I don't want to live anymore, my girlfriend broke up with me, and I work at Sonic, and I'm like, yes, objectively, that's kind of a bad spot to be, but, you know, things get better, guys. If you're 17 years old, 18 years old, and you find yourself in a bit of a lull in your life, a low moment, a low point, things will improve, you know? Don't go out there and do something dumb you're going to regret for the rest of your life just because some girl that you're not even going to remember 3 years from now broke up with you, you know? Go to the gym instead. Go pound out, like, you know, the barbells, and go out there and bench press your buddies, and, you know, like, just go crazy in the gym rather than going crazy on a bike, because these will kill you, you know? Going out there and doing super fast speeds and trying to imitate your favorite content creator will get you killed. So folks, I think that's going to wrap it up for today. That's my view on what's going on with motorcycle influencing and content creation. It does make me happy to see that the vast majority of more reputable channels I see online try to tell people good and correct information. There's just sometimes, because people want confirmation bias, there's some really strange videos that get a lot of views that, you know, some random squid somewhere is like, yeah, 600, great first motorcycle, or like, I started on a 1000 and I'm okay, so you can too. I don't know why sometimes those videos really pop off. It's because people, again, want that confirmation bias. But I'm very happy to see that the vast majority of, you know, bigger content creators that I see on the platform are promoting safety, riding a little more safely, but still having fun with bikes, because at the end of the day, these things are super fun, and it's awesome that they even exist to allow us to have fun with. Don't know how long they're going to be around for, so enjoy the show while you still can. And thanks so much for tuning in. I'll catch you guys in the next one. See you later. Well, you made it to the end of the video. Pat yourself on the back right there. And I've heard your feedback that you thought the outros were a little weird. So we're keeping it a little bit more normal. Everything is normal. It's completely normal. And if you want this to end, you just click the video right over there. Or become a member on yammynoob.co and win this bike over here. 51 bikes given away. It's no joke.